Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Well, hello, Linda Shively. How are you?
I'm great. It's so wonderful to be here, April.
I'm excited to have you there from New York. You're in New York, right?
No.
Where you at? I thought you was in New York.
No, I'm in Northern California.
You're in Northern California. You know why I thought you were in New York? Because your profile picture on Facebook has you on the big billboard in Times Square.
Yes. Well, I have definitely been in New York, but I don't live in New York.
Okay, because I was on that big billboard too.
Cool.
I know, and that's some heavy duty stuff. You know, you have lived, honey, when you've been on the billboard.
75 feet tall.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you're living large now because you're here on the edge with me and my brains. Brains, help me welcome my guest, Linda Shively, right there. I got my pointer right today. I can't wait to talk to you. Brains, she's going to share some really, really important stuff with us. She works with executive coaches, and they need help too. Just because they're in that position, that doesn't mean that they don't need coaching. She has expertise and skill and training in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. She's a part of an anthology. She's a #1 bestseller. She's going to touch on that a little bit. And empowering people, but also healing. She's going to share a very tender story with us about a very tender time in her life, and that has thrusted her and catapulted her into the place that she is. But before we get started, I envy you, because girl, I cannot grow an orchid. I got a green thumb, and look at you. They're just speaking to you. They're gorgeous. What's the secret?
Don't water them too much.
Really? Okay, my friend told me to just put an ice cube in them, like, once a week. But what about the sun thing? I don't know if I give it too much sun, and then when the bulbs fall off, what do you do?
I rotate them because these are the ones that are blooming right now. When they decide to stop blooming, they go somewhere else and sit there, and if they rebloom, they come back here, and if they don't, they either get composted or sit there until they grow again.
Okay, so just so I know, Brains, be patient. We're going to get to the story, but we got to get the education on the orchids first. I used to love going to the Ellen DeGeneres show. I created audiences for them and took a lot of guests, and they had orchids, but they had florists and people that would come in and service them. But they were so beautiful. #1, why is an orchid your favorite flower?
Because they last.
Really?
And they're beautiful.
They are beautiful. They are beautiful. Okay, so you say don't water them too much. And what else do you do? Do you fertilize them?
I wish I could say that I knew how to be an orchid whisperer much better than I am, but no, I don't actually fertilize them.
Well, they are absolutely gorgeous, just like you are. So now that we've through that, okay, Brains, okay, we're getting ready to get into the interview. Tell me a little bit about you and how you show up in the world, beautiful. How do you bloom?
How do I bloom? What a wonderful question. Today, I want to just take you back to a time where I wasn't blooming as much. Back December of 2005, I had a really tough decision I had to make. I had to decide how to escape an abusive marriage with my severely handicapped 3-year-old daughter, Jessica. And Jessica, wow, what a bright-eyed, happy little girl. She loves books, loves preschool, loves playing with her friends, and she had a condition called spinal muscular atrophy, which is a progressive neuromuscular disorder and affects her ability to crawl, walk, swallow, and even breathe.
Wow.
And the strength of her index finger, she was able to zoom around in her power chair and use a communication device. And she could use her eyebrows ways that I can't even try to express herself and express what she wants. And My marriage, on the other hand, kept me on high alert. It was like I was always walking on eggshells. I never knew when he was going to explode. I felt like if I did what he wanted, everything would be fine, but that didn't work. And I began to believe the lies and that crazy making that was happening.
Wow.
And I knew
Was he physically abusive or verbally abusive or combo?
it was verbal, and it started to get a little bit physical, and I knew that it doesn't get better. And
let me interject because I want to see if there's a pattern here. Was there drugs or alcohol
no,
involved?
no.
He's just straight up narcissist, just straight up mean. Wow.
Yeah. And I knew it wasn't a healthy place for me to continue to raise my daughter. And I knew it wasn't a healthy place for me, but I had no idea what I could do to take care of her by myself. And I finally figured out how I was going to do it. And on a Tuesday, I brought her home from preschool and I looked at her nurse and I said, okay, you pack up her medical equipment. I'm going to pack her clothes and her toys. And as soon as she wakes up, we'll escape. And after a flurry of activity, she woke up, we escaped. And exactly 2 weeks later, 2 days after Christmas, I held her in my arms as she took her last breath and died. Yeah. And from that moment on, I struggled to see any kind of future for myself. And I struggled for 10 years. I was procrastinating, I was overwhelmed, I wasn't taking action, and I really didn't know why. And I finally realized, April, there was one missing component, one missing key, and I hadn't had it in nearly a decade. And that missing component is the secret. And we all need it. We all experience it sometimes, but when it's gone, you can never accomplish what you want in your life or in your business.
Right.
And that secret resource is true joy. It's not the, oh, I'm happy, plaster on a smile, and not that fake joy, but that deep true joy that underlies everything. And when you have it, life is amazing. And that's why I do the work that I do, to help bring that true joy back into people's worlds. And I have figured out ways that we sabotage ourselves and how we do that. And I've created the joy stealing dragons, or I've named them, I should say, which are the ways that we sabotage ourselves and how to deal with them.
Let me dial back just
sure. Yeah.
I want to see some. I want to ask a question. What was your ex-husband's relationship with your daughter? Was this hard for him to cope with? And the reason why I ask that is, and I'm not saying all men, but men have a difficult time. Mothers love unconditionally. We've nurtured from the womb. But men have a difficult time when their child maybe has a disability, or if they find out that their sexual orientation is different. I don't know. Maybe they have this preconceived idea. But was it a challenge for you in your relationship because your daughter had a challenge?
We had a challenge before she was born,
okay.
And it didn't help to add that challenge. And I will say he was a really good dad. I mean, I don't want to bash him. I mean, he did well.
Well, I mean, he did as well as he could.
Yeah.
Well as he could. You can only do what you can do. Okay, so now you've peeled back the layers of this onion, and you say that the secret is true joy. But I'm very confused, because when everything that brought you joy has been taken away from you, displaced, disshuffled, removed, passed away, how do you find those 3 letters, the J-O-Y? How do you find it?
That's a great question. And even though she is no longer living, her joy lives on. And her joy lives on with me, and it lives on with everyone who has met her, and it lives on with the people who have heard about her, even if they never had the chance to meet her. And so that legacy continues, even though she is not here in the flesh.
Oh yeah.
That
Yeah.
continues.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how did you reconnect with that spiritual essence? Because the physical is so important to us as human beings, or what we think. I just lost my mother about 3 months ago.
I'm
And
sorry.
I can thank you. And I can go in any room in the house and say, Mama, are you here? And she said, mm-hmm. I feel her presence. That energy exudes out of everything. The things that she used to touch, the foods that she used to eat, the smells, the music, all of that. How do you connect with your baby girl?
She's everywhere. She follows me around, and I know that she's cheering me on no matter what is happening, and is totally excited that I'm doing what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter where I am. There's some times that I'm much more connected with her than at other times. It's not like every instant of every day I'm totally connected, but there are definitely moments, and there are definitely times where I know that there is a presence beyond me that is directing me. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Did you have a spiritual intervention? Did you work with, energy healers, or, clergy, anything like that, to really kind of heighten that sense of awareness?
So I did not initially, and I have done so more recently, and it has been a journey, because I think at first I was just trying to figure out how to put one foot in front of the other at the beginning and stay alive. And then as as I said, it took a while before I was able to be in a place where I could be grounded, where I could really connect with her, where I could really help other people in a meaningful way. And knowing that the time it took me, I know how I can help other people if they choose to go through that a little bit faster. And
Okay.
so it
Well,
doesn't
let's
have to
open
take.
that door.
Mm-hmm.
Let's open that door. How are you helping people? In what way? And why did you pick that particular sector of the corporate ladder to work with?
Well, I work with people in all different settings. So I work with people that are leading companies, as well as people that are teachers, doctors, real estate agents. No matter what their profession is, they have a desire to grow, a desire to figure out who they really are, and that may be beyond what their title or role is. And in some ways, I'm helping them. I just was talking to a client the other day who's like, wow, I am so much more confident now, and I can speak what I need to say, and I can share what I need to say about my life, my work. I can be confident in expressing myself. And that is relevant no matter what your role is. And that, I've had people that have been able to reach out in their professional life to, when things aren't going the way they want them to, and be able to say what they need, where before they would always be hiding and afraid to speak up. And they've also improved their relationships because they're more connected to who they are and putting themselves first.
Do you think a lot of that contributes to the conversation that we have inside of our head? Because I tell people all the time, I love to talk to me.
Oh,
I mean, when I'm the only one in the room, I think I'm the smartest one in the room.
we have so many voices in our head, and that's one of the principles I talk about, is you get to choose the voices, because we have the voices outside of us, and we have the voices in our heads, because we all talk to ourselves.
Right.
But are those voices actually our voices? Because most of the time they're not. We think they are because we hear them, but they came from someone else. Maybe a parent or other family member, or a teacher, an ex, just a class bully, whatever. And that if we let them sit in our heads, it doesn't serve us. And we get to choose.
So give me, an outline of maybe a introductory conversation that you're going to have with someone that you're going to work with, what are some of the things that you do to deep dive and to fact find to help them? Because you don't want to reinvent them. You want to pull out the essence of who they are. You want that to shine. You want them to love the person that they are. But what kind of things, or what is your protocol, or your checklist that you go through so people can kind of figure out, yeah, this might be a good fit. This is something that I need. And you say, oh yeah, you might be a good fit. You'd be the great person for me to work with.
It's often they know that they're getting in their own way and they haven't figured out quite how they're getting in their own way. And so I help them, we have a conversation around what is it that you really want? What is it that you're desiring and what's keeping you from getting that? If you're procrastinating all the time, if you're second guessing yourself, if you're always trying to be perfect, if you think other people's opinions are more important than your own,
right.
What is it that you're afraid of failing, whatever it is, and identifying that so that we can address that and clear that for people so that they can move forward and be able to do what it is they want to do.
Right.
Because what I do, it's not just about like, oh, I feel great after I've talked to Linda. No, it's like I want them to be able to take the action that they want to take.
It is that I feel great after I talked to Linda. I felt great after I talked to Linda.
Well, that too, but yeah.
But you know what? So many of us live or have visited in that space called the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You send your representative to meet your client, or you send your representative to meet that person on the first date. You never show up, and I hate this word, it drives me crazy, authentic. Because you know what, Linda? Keeping it 100. Everybody can't show up authentic. Sometimes that's an ugly look, And then when you have to look at yourself in the mirror and you say, wow, who am I really? It's that self-sabotage. What are some steps that we can take to combat that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you talk about that because one of the dragons that I talk about is No Good Nancy, and she definitely gets in your way, and she wants you to believe that you're not good enough and wants you to believe that you can't do it. And even if you succeed, she'll say, you could have done it better, no matter what. And it's understanding that isn't true. And we logically know that. And that's the challenge, is in our mind, we know we're good enough, but we just internally, like at a deep level, don't believe it. And so how I help people is getting at that underlying level that we're not even aware of, that subconscious level, and
right.
getting that in alignment with our conscious, so then we can move forward.
And a lot of that is can be intergenerational trauma.
It can be.
Talking about that now, and they're going into the Akashic records, and they're doing access consciousness, and they're doing NLP and tapping, but it's like cracking an egg. Have you ever cracked an egg and got a double yolk?
I have, not very often, but yes.
Okay, so there's two twins in there, and sometimes that's how life is. Sometimes you got a double yolk. And you really don't realize what you have until you actually crack that egg. Now, people are going to have breakthroughs with you, Linda.
Yes.
They're going to break through some trauma, and they're going to go through, this whole metamorphosis from the caterpillar to the butterfly. How do you feel when you see that? When you see that person come into who they're meant to be? What does that do for you?
It's amazing. It's exciting to be able to be a part of their journey and to witness that, and to be able to see them, because frequently they don't feel seen. And so it's a privilege to be able to be that witness, to be that partner on their journey.
Yeah, and hear their testimony,
yeah,
be a part of that, because that's a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
All the stuff is superficial, the house and the car and the money and all of that, all of that is superficial. We've got to go deep, and we've got to look at the core. And if COVID has taught us nothing, it's given us that time to really sit back and self-reflect because we didn't have nothing else to do. We couldn't go anywhere. So you have something that I admire. You have a happy pill.
Oh,
I love that. What is it? It's a laughing pill. What was it again?
yes, I don't have it on my desk right now, but it's a
Oh,
laughing pill.
it brought me joy, and it had the sweetest little giggle. And I was like, I shared that with you, Brains. Go back and watch because I put the Facebook Live little interview clip there. And she just pressed this button, and it had the giggle, But a lot of people now are going to laugh yoga, and it's something about laughter that sets off different endorphins in your brain.
Exactly.
What brings you joy right now? What makes you laugh?
Well, the beauty, you mentioned laughter yoga. I'm actually a laughter yoga leader. And
oh, wow.
The beauty of that is you don't have to have something funny in order to laugh. I know that sounds counterintuitive. You're like, what? No joke, no humor. What do you mean? I can just laugh. You can just choose to laugh. You can just
yeah.
and just start laughing right now in this moment. And in that laughter, you're able to raise those endorphins and decrease the cortisol, which, I mean, we have a lot of stress in our lives, and that cortisol can go crazy with us. And
a lot of laughter can be exhausting too. I mean, I've laughed so hard with my niece and family members so much that it's brought tears to my eyes.
Yes.
It really does something to your soul and something to your psyche. So you are a contributor in an anthology. What was the writing process for you? Where did you go? What space did you go to mentally, or was there a sacred space that you like to do your writing? How did you come up with that?
It's actually an interesting process to write when you're with other experts contributing stories. And these were personal stories. It wasn't this is what I do professionally. It's who am I really? And so going to a deep place and sharing that, I tend to do a lot of my writing by dictating rather than manually writing it or typing it up, because I'm a speaker, and so I like to speak. So I share my stories in that way, and I'll often transcribe them and then edit them from there. So that's my writing process. Often, sometimes I'll type or write, but it's.
So where is Linda at now, and what is Linda's headspace, and where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Ooh, great question. Where I am right now, I'm developing a new program, the True Joy Life program, which I'm super excited about, to help people get back to that true joy in their life. And in 3 to 5 years, I can see that expanding, helping people around the globe, and helping people really get that true joy back in their life, and knowing that my daughter's legacy continues, spreading that joy around the world.
Absolutely. So do you have a cat?
I do not have any pets.
Really? But you got orchids.
I have orchids. When I was pre-COVID, when I was traveling so much, it wouldn't be fair to have an animal because I wasn't here enough to take care of them. And so,
well, you're taking care of yourself. Maybe you get a goldfish. Just somebody there to, take some of the stress off of you. And fish do it.
Oh, yes. I've had goldfish before. Yes.
Well, Linda, you are absolutely amazing. And you're so gentle and soft and kind. I feel it. And I know others can feel it when they work with you. Because sometimes you get these coaches, and I mean, they're hardcore, like we're, training for the Olympics, and they just demand this. They don't allow you to be you. And what I think a coach should be is someone that helps you evolve into who you are, not change you, but mentor you and bring out the best in you and give you options and choices. And I think that you're one of those people, and I can feel that. So thank you so much for being here on the edge. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you, to work with you, to have a consultation. And we look forward to your upcoming program because we're going to run the show again when it's released because I want people to work with you for sure.
Well, thank you. Well, right now, what I'd love to do is give the brains a gift. I talked a little bit about the joy stealing dragons, but if you want to know which one of those dragons is most active in your life and what to do about it, some solutions and tips, take the quiz that I have for you. It's at myjoydrivenlife.com/April, because we're here with April and I want you to be able to take that quiz. Again, that's My Joy Driven Life.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm writing that down so I can so I can post it. myjoydrivenlife.com. Okay.
/April.
All right.
And
now, brains, you got to go in and take this now because now she done put my name on it. Now she gonna track me. And I want you to have the experience. I mean, really, what does it? I'm gonna go in and take it too.
It's fun, and that way you can figure out which one of the dragons is most active. I mean, we didn't really talk about all of them, but you can have more than one. But which one is?
The interview's not over. Share some of the dragons with us. Come on.
So we have second guessing Sally, who makes you second guess every decision that you make. Even if you're confident when you make the decision afterwards, like, well, did I make the right decision? Should I go back on that? Should I change my mind? And then there's no good Nancy, who we talked about earlier. She wants you to believe you weren't born good enough no matter what, and no matter what you do, you can't do that. You could have done it better, whatever it is. And then there's perfect Paula, who wants everything to be perfect, wants everything in order.
Right. The most insecure person in the room.
and judging Jenny, who is complicated because she'll judge everybody else and then judge herself and make you judge yourself and try and navigate that and compare. Then there's overwhelmed Ophelia.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I can tell you relate to a few of these. Yeah, and these dragons, they're a way to illustrate what we have in our heads. And when they're active, they steal our joy, they take it away from us. And so figuring out ways to bring it back, get control of our lives so that we can actually live the life we want and have the joy back and not have it taken.
Well, I'm going to add one. Courageous Curtis. That's going to be the one that we really kind of need to look at, because you got to have courage to do all of this. You had to have courage to make that move. You had to have courage to come from, a darker place into the light, and it takes one step at a time, but you have to want it. You have to realize it. And when you get there, what are you going to do with it? You can't just sit there in your dumpster. You got to take action, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm so glad that you shared those dragons with us. Brains, check them out. Which one are you? Go in and take the test. I don't know. I'm like one or two of them. It depends on what day it is.
Exactly. Or what you're doing, because each one shows up in different ways depending on what you're doing.
Again, they're all a part of our personality. And if we know how to monitor that and have that conversation with whoever shows up that particular day, that's just going to put us ahead of the game. Okay? So thank you again for being here. Oops. Upside down. Thank you for being here on the edge with me and my brains. Brains, please go in, take the quiz that Nancy, see, you got me talking about Nancy, that has for us. It's going to be really fun and inviting. You're going to find out a lot about yourself. Go in and subscribe to LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, share, leave comments. We do this because we want feedback. We want to know what you need. Sometimes what we think we need is not, or as a facilitator, is really not what the client actually needs. So talk to us. Have a conversation. We love it. We love the feedback. And thank you so much, Linda, for being here on the edge. Please come back and visit me again when your next book comes out. And we're going to talk more about those orchids offline.
Thanks, April.
Thank you. Bye, Brains.